Hello everyone, this is your girl Gypsy and welcome back to another episode of SheMeansBusiness. I'm so glad you could join me today. If you are a business owner, an aspiring entrepreneur, or someone simply trying to navigate the complex waters of building something from ground up, you're in the right place. Today we are talking about something invisible but incredibly powerful, which is perception. Perception. How you see the landscape in front of you can either be your prison or your launch pad. Recently, I watched the playback of a gathering organized by Pastor Jerry's foundation. It was an incredible event with various speakers taking their turns on the stage to share their wealth of knowledge, their wealth of wisdom. But my attention was completely captured by the contrast between two absolute powerhouses. And I call them powerhouses because these are women who have reached the absolute pinnacle of their careers. They have owned their spaces for decades, yet they offered two different lenses through which to view the business landscape in Africa. Now, our first powerhouse, I'm not going to mention their names, all right? I'm not going to mention their names. Our first powerhouse took the stage and she hit the ground running with a very vital truth. Having a good idea is not enough. You have to scale. Africa is hungry for solutions. So if you have a business idea that starts in your backyard, your vision cannot end there. You have to think about reaching the state level, the national level, and eventually the global scene because the world is waiting for you. It was a brilliant point. Extremely brilliant point. But then the narrative shifted. She began to touch on the environment, the enabling environment, or rather the lack of it. She spoke about the government's failure to provide adequate infrastructure and security. Now, let's be honest at this point, she wasn't wrong. She wasn't wrong at all. The infrastructural gaps are real. But the underlying tone of that message subtly pointed towards dependence. It created a narrative that said, until the government plays its part, your business cannot truly take off. It was a message focused heavily on the problem, subtly suggesting that our success is at the mercy of a perfect environment. And if we are waiting for a perfect environment in this part of the world, we might be waiting forever. Then the next speaker mounted the stage. And the moment she began to speak, the atmosphere shifted. She brought something essential into the room, which is hope. She brought hope. She did not deny the problems. She knew the problems are there, but she offered a completely different framework. She said, our message is going to be about despite. I need you to hear that word and let it sink in. Despite. Despite. It means despite all the bottlenecks, despite the harsh economic realities we are facing in the country, despite the lack of infrastructure, despite the policy flips and the ups and downs, despite it all, there are businessmen and women in this country who have built incredible things, who are currently building and who will continue to build. She flipped the script from being victims of our environment to being victors, despite it. The second speaker didn't just leave us with motivation. She gave a practical hard-eating blueprint on financial discipline. She spoke directly to those receiving funding. warning them about how to view their capital. That money they are, that seed money they are given. She said that money is a seed. And what do you do with a seed? You plant it. You allow it to experience full, unhindered growth. You do not eat your seed. She shared her own story, explaining how she refused to use her business capital to support her personal lifestyle. For the longest time, she didn't even buy a car. When she finally did, she had already hit a major financial milestone. And by the time the second car came around, I think it was her husband that actually bought that for her. Her business was already standing on rock solid ground. She warned against using seed money as a lifestyle adjuster. I have to pause here and be completely vulnerable with you all. In fact, when she said that, it hit home. Because I personally have made that exact mistake before. I've been guilty of letting business revenue slowly leak into adjusting my personal lifestyle before the business was mature enough to carry that weight. So it is such a common trap. It is such a common trap. But hearing her lay it out so plainly was a massive wake-up call. So what are the two distinct lessons we are walking away with today? Lesson 1. I call it the danger of the waiting game. The first speaker highlighted our reality, our Nigerian reality, the environment. The environment is tough. But if your perception is anchored only to what the government or the system is failing to do, you will remain paralyzed. You won't be able to do anything. You will tie your potential to external factors that cannot help you, that you have no power to control. Lesson 2. The second speaker reminded us that champions are built in the mud. Success in our landscape doesn't happen when things are perfect. It happens despite the imperfections. Coupled with that is the discipline of delayed gratification. Do not upgrade your wardrobe, your car, or your apartment with the seed money meant to scale that your backyard idea that is meant to scale it to the global stage. Let the seed grow. Let the seed grow. Your perception dictates your reality. Will you focus on the closed doors, or will you build a window despite the walls? I want to challenge us this week. Take a hard look at your business finances. Are you eating your seeds? And more importantly, take a hard look at your mindsets. Are you waiting for a perfect Nigeria, a perfect economy, or a perfect environment to succeed? Or are you ready to roll up your sleeves and win despite it all? Thank you so much for giving me your time today. If this episode resonated with you, please share with another entrepreneur who needs to hear this. Till next episode, till next week when I see you again, please keep building. And remember, the world is waiting for you. See you in the next episode. Thank you.